So in this video, we're going to explore quotative division, namely division where we know the value of a group, but we don't know how many groups there are altogether, and how we can represent problems such as this in this context so that our pupils might be able to express what they understand and to help them solve mathematical problems of various kinds. Quotative division is probably the more difficult of the division structures to represent using the bar model, largely because when we know the number of groups, we can very easily break our bars into a given number of groups, and then the mathematics sort of reveals itself from there. So this will take a lot of time on the part of the teacher and the pupil. The teacher will need to explain, will need to model, and it will need to develop, the pupils will need to develop their understanding over an extended period of time. You know, if you're in year 6 and you teach this the first time you show this model to your pupils, then your chances of success are greatly reduced compared to the pupil who's in year 3 and develops their use of this model over an extended period of time, you know, at least the next 4 years of their school career. Okay, so if we get some context, if we imagine that this is a balloon and we say that Sam has 30 of them, okay? And she wants to give 6 balloons to each of her friends. So each friend gets 6 balloons, but we don't know how many friends there are, okay? And so to do that, we're going to take this step by step and model it as it would be modeled to the pupils, okay? So what do we know? We know that there are 30 balloons in total. So we can show that using our brackets. So the total number of balloons is 30, okay? What else do we know? We know that one friend will get 6 balloons. And so we can show that if we just move this slightly, we can see one friend gets 6, okay? And this is where we fall down, because if this was a situation where we knew that there were 6 friends and we wanted to work out how many balloons they get, it would be quite easy to show 6 parts in a bar. So what we have to do is we have to show that, well, when we don't know the number of groups, but we do know that it is a finite number, that this bar will end eventually, okay? We know that this is 6, but what we don't know, and we represent it using these dashes, because this denotes that we don't yet know this, but that something does exist in this realm, okay? And then from here, we should see that, okay, we have 30, they get 6 each. It won't do the maths for us, but it will represent the problem. We don't know how many groups there are. Okay? And then from there, we will need to use, in this instance, our knowledge of multiplication facts, but it could equally be another method of division, depending on what sort of stage the pupils are at. So this time, I'd like you to draw the bar before I show it. Okay, so I'll give you some context, and then you take it from there, pause the video, and then we'll go through how we might model to our pupils. So if we say this time, we'll stick with balloons. And this time we'll say there are 20 of them, okay? And each friend gets 5 balloons. That's a little bit hidden, but you can see that's a friend, okay? How would you draw the bar to represent this problem, to support the pupils in working out what it is they need to do? So what you will have done is start with the total. We know there are 20 balloons. We know that each friend gets 5. We know that the number is finite. But we don't know how many friends there are. Okay? And then from there, we've got this representation where we think, okay, any words that were used to describe the problem can dissolve, and we focus on what we see. And we know in this instance, the total 20 divided by the number of balloons each friend get will give us the number of friends. And so we're almost reducing the load because we don't need to use any sort of English knowledge, any reading, and we're focusing entirely on the numbers and this representation, which will have hopefully made things more clear. Excellent. But like I say, the best way to approach this is step by step, introducing it over time. It's probably one of the most, if not the most abstract of the bars for pupils to come to terms with. And so, like I say, if they meet this in year 3, much more likely to internalize it and to make it a part of what they do when they're solving mathematical problems, rather than if they see it for the first time in year 6, because it's not going to help at that point.